So we're going to start in a standing position, feet shoulder width apart. So let's go ahead and get it. Okay, so first things first, we're going to start with some gentle hopping. So I just want you to start to move on the balls of your feet. And when you're ready, start to make it a little bit more vigorous. And this is like a good full body shakeout. This is a great way to move circulation. Okay, so if you guys are finding yourself sitting throughout the day for an extended period of time, just stand up and get a little bit of hopping going. It's a great way to pump your lymphatic system, which is the part of our bodies that keeps us clean and healthy. So we really want to make a habit of bouncing as often as we can. You can add some side-to-side motion and add a little bit more of a boxer shuffle side to side, or even forward and back. Switch legs. Just real light on the balls of the feet. Shake out those legs. Shake out those arms. Nice and easy. Inhale, exhale. Okay, from here we're going to place our hands on our abdomen and we're going to do some opu huli. Opu means stomach. Huli means to turn it. And this is one of the main areas that we focus on for massage in traditional Hawaiian medicine. So we're just doing some nice, gentle, clockwise circles. Real slow, but you can add some side-to-side motion. You'll notice that when you move your body, you're massaging your internal organs. So see if you can get a sense of that happening by gently rocking your body from side to side. Okay, from here we're going to take one hand into the back. Same exact thing. So this is good for the shoulder. Hope to open and mobilize the shoulder. Let's switch sides. From here, we're going to get a squeeze on the ascending and descending colon. It's really good for getting our plumbing moving in the right way. Real nice and easy there. From here, we're going to draw our hands in towards the center. So you can see I'm using my thumbs down through the sternum. And I'm just gliding my hands towards the center. And again, if I change the position of my torso, like if I extend through my spine, now I'm getting a whole nother level, a whole different impact or effect. Now after we've done this movement, we're going to walk our fingers around. And this is where you use a little bit of intuition, okay? I'm always giving you guys ideas of what movements to do, and then you guys use your communication with your own body to help you know and understand or get ideas of what else to do. It's so important to have a relationship with our body. And there's a part of our nervous system, we refer to it as interoception, that helps us to give us a sense of our inside. And when we focus on that and we develop that, it helps us with our overall intuition, our sense, our inner compass, if you will. We're making choices on this life journey. Okay, from here, we're going to just integrate some gentle hip circles. So let's place our hands on our hips, and we're just going to make some nice circular hip movements. So while you guys are doing this, I want you to pay attention to the quality of your circle. Are you making a full circle? Or are you making an oval? Are you cutting corners anywhere? See where you need to put a little bit more emphasis. Let's go the other direction. Same exact thing. Just notice how that feels. Inhale, exhale as often as you do. Make sure that you're exhaling nice and slow. Okay, from here, we're just going to take our hips from side to side, side to side. You can take your hands on the hips. You can take them on your rib cage so you can isolate the movement of just the hips. And then we're going to hinge forward at the hips. Same exact thing. Side to side, side to side. Nice and easy. Okay, let's go back to our hip circles one more time. Real nice big hip circles. Real nice big hip circles. Nice and relaxed. Breath as deep and expansive as you go. Let's go the other direction. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add some intensity to that, and we're going to do some over and under transitions. So we're going to imagine there's an obstacle. We're going to take our legs over that obstacle, and then we're going to pass ourselves underneath the obstacle. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Got it? Bam. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, add whatever you need to make it work wonders for you. There's always so many different things that we can do to make our workouts more fantastic. I'm going to take it a little bit more backwards. Back yourself under. Maybe use your hands a little bit to support you. That's okay too. Maybe you want to cross right back underneath. Feel free. You know me. I'm all about feeling free. If I had a dime for every time I said feel free, whew, I'd have a little collection of some dimes, wouldn't I? Under and over. Real good for the hips. Just getting those hips warmed and ready to go. Maybe add a little bounce. Shake it out. From here, we're going to add some arm circles. So real simple. We're going to bring our arms forward first. I want you to think about that scapulothoracic joint again. Remember we talked about that last week. The idea of bringing our attention into the scapula and how it relates to the rib cage. Let's go backwards with our circles. And just pay attention to the quality of motion. Your hips and your shoulders are ball and socket joints. That means that they have the most available range of motion. And when we don't use it, sometimes the body recruits other parts of the body to get that movement, such as the spine. And the spine can move, but it doesn't have as much available range as our shoulders and hips. So we want to make sure that we're practicing, mobilizing, and moving our ball and socket joints. All right, now we're going to add some reaches. So you're just going to reach above the head. You're going to reach behind. You can reach to the side, however you want, and then you're going to switch. So I'm just going to reach. Just notice what happens when you reach. It's not just the arm. You're reaching through the side of the body. You can even feel it into the leg. Reach, reach, reach. Reaching is one of the most fantastic things that you can do for your shoulders and probably your body as a whole. Reach, reach. I went down onto my knees just because I feel like you guys probably can't hear me, but you probably can. I don't know what your experience is based on your device. If you want to reach with both hands, think about it. What do you do in life? You got to reach down to get your groceries, put them up into the cabinet. This is the type of movements that we want to practice. This is the stuff that we always do. We don't live in alignment. We live outside of alignment. That's why it's important to practice both in alignment and out of alignment. Life happens outside of alignment usually. Outside of what we expect. So prepare yourself for that which you're not expecting. Reach, 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 reach. Anything with a reach, that's what you're doing. Good times. Okay, guys, let's get some cross the body arm movements. Just kind of slapping the body behind. You can also bring it to the back. All right, we got about 10 seconds left. We're going to get into our first movement series. Our first movement today is a good morning squat. So we're going to start with what's called a good morning, which is basically a hip hinge. And then we're going to squat down towards the ground. So feet shoulder width apart. You're going to hinge forward at the waist and then come right back out of that. I want you to see and feel the neutral spine, and I want you to maintain that neutral spine. So then we're going to take it into our deep squat and come right back up. Okay, so this is our good mornings are usually just the hip hinge aspect. So we're just adding a squat. And by hinging at the hips, we activate those posterior hip muscles, and that's really important when we're facilitating what's called or considered a safe squat. Okay, so nice and easy. Hinge, squat. You can bring your arms forward. You can bring your hands to the center. Whatever you want to do. Squat. Up. Hinge. Squat. Back. Up. Starting to build. Add a little hopping in there. Keep everything nice and loose this entire movement class. Inhale, exhale. Keep that breath nice and expansive this whole time. 3, 2, and 1. From our deep squat, let's move into a side sit position, please. So we're in our side sit. We're going to work on some side sit transitioning. So the first one is just some side sit hip swivels. So we're just swiveling those knees from side to side. Just getting those hip joints all greased up and lubricated, ready for more movement. You want to take those hands out of it. Get that. Do that. Remember to continuously think about the importance of movement nutrition, thinking about what movements you need to add, movements that you might not be getting enough of in your daily life. And those are some of the movements we want to add to our movement practice. It's movement nutrition. Okay, you want to add the hip hinge with a press. Go ahead. Hip hinge, press. Nice and strong. All day. These first 3 sets of movement are mostly for the hips. So by the end of it, you should be feeling it, if not already. Although for all you ninjas out there, I know you probably don't feel it yet. Just warming up. Getting these tissues warm and ready. Okay. So from here, we're going to get into a cross sit position and do a side bend. So get into a cross sit position, legs in front just like so. And all we're going to do is we're going to press through the crown of the head. We're going to reach one palm to the side, and we're going to reach all the way over. And then reach to the other side. Okay, so we're just adding a nice lateral crunch, if you will, to this movement, just to kind of give the hips a little bit of a break before our next good morning squat set. You can always change the position of your spine and mobilize. You can change the position, rotating through the spine, adding little micro nutrients and little details to how you guys are already moving this morning. Inhale, exhale, nice and easy. This isn't a stretch, but you will probably notice a stretch sensation while you guys are doing this. "25 seconds. You can take those hands out in front of the body as well, reaching above the head or reaching out in front. You can reach behind, adding a little bit of rotation, whatever you like. Okay, guys, let's come back up to standing good morning squats. Let's get it. So you're already in a squat. Get up and get right back down. Hinge, squat, and right back up. Hinge, squat, and right back up. Now, if this is like snapping and popping in your knees, maybe dial down the movement a little bit. Maybe don't go down as far. Perhaps you only go, halfway down. That's fine. It's better that you move through a range that's productive and healthy than a range that kind of aggravates the tissues. Okay, so there's just a nice hip hinge and a squat. You want to add a little bit to it? You know what I'm going to say. Feel free. Yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff with these movements. And if you're not having fun quite yet, then you might be leaving something on the table. Maybe try with your feet a little bit closer together versus a little bit further apart. Like more of like a, almost even like a sumo squat. "12 seconds. All right, so let's go right back down into our side sit, please. So from our side sit position, this time we're going to do the hip hinge, or we're going to add a get up. So we'll swivel the knees, we'll hinge, we'll press, and then we're going to add our get up. Change your position, lower yourself right back down into your side sit. Okay? So again, I'm going to swivel my knees, hip hinge, press, and then come to standing. I want the standing to happen very slowly because we want to cultivate strength. Let's say maybe I'm holding on to something and I can't use my hands. And so I want to practice using the stability of my leg muscles, the strength of my leg muscles to get me into that upright position. Okay? So again, swivel, hinge, press, get up. Maybe change your position, walk a little bit in your room, and then lower yourself right back down. Side sit. Okay? So lower down, you're in side sit, swivel, swivel, hinge, press, get up. All day. Swivel, 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 hinge, get up. Bam. All day. That's another term I would love to have a dime for. All day. Okay. From here, we're going to get into a half kneeling position for our side bends. So for me, I'm going to use a pillow under my knee. You don't have to unless you want to. I just like to keep it safe. And so we're in this half kneeling position. Your hands are going to be interlaced behind your head, and we're going to lower ourselves down towards the ground. And then right back up. So these first couple of reps, nice and slow, just feeling the movement. Feel the distribution of the lateral flexion of the spine happening evenly. I like to imagine pressing through the crown of my head and then lowering myself down as far as I can comfortably, and then using all the tissues to get myself back up. Breathe in, breathe out. Keep that breath deep and expansive the whole time. And then let's go ahead and switch sides. Legs out to the side, interlace those fingers behind the neck, lower down. And this one, I'm really feeling a lot of activation of the lateral side of the body, or lateral side. That's a little redundant, but you guys know what I mean. Feeling the activation of the side of the body. You can also add a little bit of rotation through this movement. Remember, we don't live in a box, and we don't always move with strict movement patterns. We move in all sorts of different ways because the body can. So you want to practice that so that you can make sure that your body is always ready for whatever movement it needs to be able to do. Nice and strong. 5 more seconds. All right. Let's go right back into our good morning squats. One last set. All right. So remember, this is a hip exercise. So I really want you to play around with the sensations of the hip. I want you to play around with loading the posterior hip. You don't always just have to do the movement that I ask you to do. I would prefer you pay attention to what the goal is. And with this movement, we're focusing a lot on the hips. So I'm focusing on the movement and the strength of the posterior hip, lowering myself down, getting into that deep squat, getting maybe a nice knee tap in there, and then coming up. Staying nice and relaxed, nice and bouncy. But this is a posterior hip exercise, guys, all day. You want to be really strong in this part of your body. Your glutes are the muscle that help to get you into this upright position. So when you're picking stuff off the ground. You want your glutes to be on point. Okay, let's lower ourselves down into side sit, please. Okay, so once again, same thing as the last set. We're going to add our get up. So we're swiveling the knees from side to side. We're adding that nice hip hinge, press, and then get yourself to a standing position. See if you can keep your hands out of it this time. If you got obstacles in your environment, like I have this desk right here, I like to move around my desk. Why? Because it's complicated. And the more complicated my movement, the more I'm developing movement fluency or movement literacy. My body is starting to understand how to navigate my environment, especially in situations where I got something that's in my way, right? Embrace life's challenges. I think it's important to train ourselves to enjoy life's challenges because we know that life challenges help to create strength and adaptability. "20 seconds, guys. Nice and controlled the whole time. Remember, add whatever intricate details you need to make it work for you. Okay, guys, so last set of our side lateral lunge, if you will. So again, we're going to move into our half kneeling position here. Hands behind the head, only this time we're going to add a reach. So as I go down, I'm going to reach over my head this direction so I can feel a beautiful connection from my hand all the way down to my foot here. Okay, I want to change my position. I can make it more of a stretch opening for the chest. I can take it a little bit more in this direction, which opens up the back. So many variations. Switch sides, same exact thing. Reach, 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 reach. So for this set, this is where I want you to be adding that improvisational aspect especially. You know, you can improvise this whole time, of course, but by the time we get to our third set, that's when I really want the improvisation to take off. This is where we abandon the rules of movement so that we can explore our body's ranges of motion and we can really start to take it to the edge and beyond. 5 seconds. All right. So now we're going to move in down onto the ground. We're already here, but I want to move into some foot-hand crawl transitions. So first things first, on our hands and knees. Hands are under shoulders, knees are under hips. Just going to change my camera angle there. And we're going to start with some spinal articulations. So all I'm doing is I'm taking my spine through flexion and extension. So you're going to drop your sternum towards the ground and then lift that mid back towards the ceiling. Some might call it cat and cow. A little bit too much there. Okay. We're bringing that spine up and then also down. If you want to add some forward, backward motion, feel free. You want to add a little bit of wagging of the tail, feel free. This is a spinal articulation. So you're moving your spine in as many different ways as you can think of And I want to encourage you to just really bring your attention into the spine. Where are you feeling your spine this morning? Are there parts that need a little bit of love, a little bit of attention? Maybe there's some spots that are kind of quiet. Maybe you're a little curious, like what's going on in that spot that I don't feel at all? Bring some attention into that spot. See if you can't add a movement to activate that spot a little bit more. You're just getting some beautiful mobility. So some people would say that mobility precedes stability. So if you want a stable spine, I guess we got to mobilize it. All right, so the next one we're going to do is a step out lunge. So you're going to stay in this position of this foot hand crawl, but you're just going to step out into different directions to add your lunge. So from my knee hand or my foot hand crawl, I'm just going to step out to the side and then come right back. Side, then come right back. If at any point you want to take the hands out of it, you can. You want to make it a little quicker, feel free. You want to add a get up, feel free. Any little micro variation of movement that you want to add to this, I want to encourage you to feel free. Try to keep that breath deep, dynamic, expansive, elongated. So if you think about it, I've asked you to do some step out lunges. So if you think about that end position, well, maybe I can just change positions, and now I've done a step out lunge the other direction, right? I can bring my body through different positions, in, out, side, side. Make it work. Okay, from here, we're going to work into some pass under transitions. So what that means is I'm going to go from my knee hand crawl to inverted crawl. So from my hands and knees, or just my foot and hands, I'm going to lift up contralateral arm and leg, and the leg passes under the body to transition to inverted crawl. Now I'm just going to walk myself back through that same process to come right back into my knee hand crawl or my foot hand crawl position, and I'll switch sides. So again, opposite arm, opposite leg. I want you focusing a lot on the stability of that shoulder. I would rather you go really slow, almost like molasses moving down the side of a glass, than move quickly and take a chance of injuring yourself. Now, if you've dialed in this movement and your body's feeling good, ramp it up. Maybe add yourself a nice get up. Maybe crawl around. All day. This has got to be one of my favorite exercises because even with a history of certain injuries, this one's safe as long as you focus on the quality. I might add a little bit of a shoulder pulse here. Okay, so from here, we're going to go back into our spinal articulations. This time, we're from a kneeling position, we're going to do a spinal wave. So the belly button leads the way and then sends a nice gentle wave of motion or initiates a wave of motion through the whole spine. And then what I can do is I can come all the way forward into what you might call a child's pose. And then stacking one vertebrae on top of the other, I can come up and then come into a little bit more of extension. If this is uncomfortable for your knees, you can put something underneath your knees. If you can't get into this position comfortably, you can always do this from a cross-sit position. Okay, so I can send that wave of motion through my spine. Let's say that even this hurts. You can come from this position. The idea is to send a wave of motion through the spine. In fact, I would encourage you, even if it didn't hurt, to be in a kneeling position. I would encourage you to try doing these spinal wave movements from other positions. Bring your spine forward, bring your spine back. Remember, try the different positions. Really creating some length through that spine. And I want to encourage you to focus on those little details, those little micro movements that happen. Not just the macro, the big stuff, but the tiniest little sensation. I want you to put your attention on the tiniest little sensations as you get into your spinal waves. Okay, so from here, we're going back into our hip mobilization. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in our kneeling position, and I'm going to point my toes, and I'm going to bring my foot out to the side and bring the knee up. And come right back down, switch sides. So I'm just shifting my weight over. You want to be careful with this one. Make sure it's safe on your knees. So if you need to use your hands to transition, do that. Remember, safety is like our number one thing. Doesn't help you if you injure yourself, although it can teach you things. Injuries can be transformed into something positive, right, if they happen. But we want to try to minimize that. We don't want to injure ourselves unnecessarily. But we're just getting a nice hip opening with this exercise. So it's just taking those hips out to the side, exploring those sensations as you go, feeling the stability, perhaps rise up a little bit, maybe even add a get up. Switch sides. I'm always thinking about how can I use this movement to add to my ability to handle my day. Or maybe how can I use this movement to extend my life or the quality of it. Okay? All right, so right back into our cross-under transitions from our knee-hand cross. So this time, make it a little bit more dynamic. Perhaps add a little bit more of that get-up idea. I'm always thinking about being able to look through my environment, because you can see that when I look around, my spine has to move in through extension. So I'm looking at the corners of my round. I don't want to strain my neck, but I just want to get into the habit of making my movement in such a way that it helps me in my daily life. Looking at my movement through that lens of nutrition. Adding little get-ups from time to time. Slowing it down. Maybe decreasing the range of motion. If this feels sketchy on the wrists, perhaps make a loose fist. There's always a way. Even when we experience injuries in life, there's always a way to exercise. There's always a way to get some movement nutrition. God forbid you end up in a hospital bed. But even there, you can move your eyeballs around. Notice how that feels. It's beautiful. All right. So Right back to our knee hand crawl position. Last set of spinal articulations. This time we're just going to do a Cobra Child's Pose transition. So I'm going to drop my weight back over my heels. When I do that, I'm squeezing through the hips. Okay? From here, I'm sending a wave up through my back, shifting my weight forward, coming down into my Cobra Pose. So wherever you're feeling this, I want you to try to distribute the sensation, distribute the load, distribute the work throughout as much of the body as you can. Make it as easy as you possibly can. Perhaps throw a smile on your face. Notice how that feels. So just getting some nice Cobra Pose. Making sure you're drawing down on those scapula. It's like you're tucking your scapula into your back pocket. Child's Pose, Cobra. Want to take yourself off your knees and add a little bit. Feel free. Bring the feet a little closer together versus a little further apart. Okay, everybody. So let's move into our next set. And we're going to start with some break falls. So now, from a standing position, we're going to lower ourselves down. We're going to slowly rock onto the ground and come right back up. So, slowly lowering yourself down. Smack the ground very gently, and then come right back to your upright position. So the key here is getting up all the way to a standing position and all the way down onto the ground. You decide how you want to get there. So I rock back and I stand up. Okay, maybe add a little bit of walking. Keep everything nice and loose, nice and strong. Perhaps I do a little bit more to the side. You don't have to smack the ground. The smack is to kind of disperse the energy of the fall. Disperse your weight, if you will. Make sure that you're nice and controlled so you're not smacking your head on the ground. Seven seconds. All right. Our next move is balance. So take one foot off the ground. We're going to gently swing our leg forward and back, just very gently. I want the toes spread wide on the supporting leg. From here, I'm going to touch my foot behind, front. I'm going to kick it out to the side, and then the back, switch legs. Okay? So I'm just going to swing the leg forward and back first, nice and easy. Spread the toes wide on that supporting leg. And then from here, touch front, touch behind, reach out to the side, reach out to the back with that leg, switch sides. Okay, so swing first, forward and back. Really try to balance from the foot, the movements of the foot. That's what I want the balance to come from. And then touch, touch, out, out. Switch sides. Swing, swing. Make sure that you're long through the spine. Touch, touch, reach, reach. You want to pause in any one of these positions, add a little bit of micronutrients, feel free. Swing. Oh, there we go, right back into the next set. So right back into our break falls. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to add our rock back, but if you want to add to this one, we're going to roll completely over. So when I fall, I want to roll completely over and then come to standing. Okay, so the way I do that is my one arm is straight, and I'm going to look down that arm. And then I use my hands in whatever way to come back up to standing. So I straighten one arm out, and that's the side that I'm looking towards, and then just come to standing. Now, if that's too much, stick with your break falls. Okay? Not sure why my pockets always fall out of my pants, but that's neither here nor there. So when you do the roll back, you can also roll back forward, right? So if I come down, I can roll all the way over here and then take myself back over. I was at, I think, Trader Joe's the last time it snowed, and I don't even know how it happened, but I fell, and I just happened to be practicing my rolls earlier that day, and I literally did this, just like that when I fell. It was amazing. Like, I was impressed. I was hoping that somebody, like, recorded it. But nobody did. Okay. Balance. Right back to it. Okay? So again, peel one foot off the ground. Swing one leg forward and back. This time, I want you to extend the distance between the legs. So before we were just kind of swinging in a close range. Now, I want you to see if you can get the foot a little further out to the front, sides, and back, and even the opposite side. You're really reaching through that foot, but try to make it a glute exercise or a posterior hip exercise. Don't put all the pressure into the knee, but try to focus on hinging and getting movement in that posterior hip. Okay, make sure to switch sides. Forward, back, pause in any one of the positions that you like. Just really challenge yourself, see how far you can reach safely. Okay, switch sides. Really reach. Reach all the way around. Reach. Switch sides. Reach. Go a little lower. Feel free, but again, see if when you go lower, I want the lower to happen because of the hip hinge first, and then drop the weight back. So you can see my shin is perpendicular to the ground, which is nice for stability. It doesn't have to stay in that place, but it's just helpful. Okay, guys, let's lower ourselves down onto the ground for some stretching. So the first stretch we're going to do for today is our hip flexor stretch. We're going to get into a split kneeling. This is always a good stretch to get into because of the amount of sitting that we do. So again, find the good position first. Create that length through the spine. Choose whether you want pointed toes or a flexed foot position. And once you find that good position, then you can start to move with it. Okay, so I can move my front leg into a straight position. I can open up the hip, lowering my heel towards the ground. I can add my reach aspect. And just notice how that feels. So you're adding whatever reach or position that you like to get what you need out of this position. You can add some gentle circles. This one's really one of my favorites right here. Nice and slow, nice and easy. Not trying to push it or force it, just feeling the sensations inside my hip and playing around with different activation strategies. So I can press into the top of my foot to come to a more of a standing position. I can hinge forward, peel that foot off the ground, whatever I like. So you do whatever you like. Let's switch sides. Same exact thing. Position first. Always position. Get yourself in a nice, strong, confident position. Length through the spine. Expansive breathing through those lower ribs. Feeling the sensations of the ground on all parts of your foot, right? So not just the bottom side, but the top side as well. Just kind of flexing those toes, moving the ankle into different positions. And once you find that nice solid position, then you can start to move with it. Want to add your reach? We can do that. Straightening that front leg is an option. Pressing onto the top side of that back foot is an option to come to standing. Maybe I shift my weight forward. So many options. Okay? So remember, whenever you get in that box, get out as soon as you can. All right, let's take this down onto the ground into a prone position. We're laying on our stomachs. What we're going to do here is we're going to get a nice, gentle peck stretch. So your arms are out to the side in a field goal position. You're going to reach through both legs, but also reach behind with one of your legs. I want to be mindful of my shoulder position. I don't want my shoulder collapsing towards the ground, but rather I want you to contract those posterior shoulder muscles. And the more you activate your body, the more of an active stretch, which means you're going to be releasing potentially other fibers that you wouldn't release with just a passive stretch. Let's switch sides. So again, I'm reaching through both my pointed toes, and then I'm reaching over with one of my legs. I can bend the knee, that's no problem. Remember, it's not about rules. It's about what are we trying to accomplish. And this is a great peck stretch. This is to stretch the front side of the shoulder. Okay? So we got different angles. I can change the position of this arm. I can also change the position of the stretch arm. I can make the elbow straight, whatever I like. Let's switch sides. Same thing. Breathe deeply and expansively as you go. I really enjoy playing around with as many different movement strategies as I can. Switch sides. And one last time, switch sides. Okay, guys. So the last movement we're going to do today is some rolling. And we're rolling because I want you to compress your tissues into the ground. So all you're going to do is you're going to roll completely over. I got walls that are getting in my way. That makes me happy. Why? Because now I got to adapt, right? So when you practice enjoying, embracing challenge, it ends up becoming a positive experience versus a negative one. So it's literally just a shift in my attitude, a shift in my perception. And I'm adding these gentle rolling movements because I want to massage my body into the ground. So if I want to add a little bit to this, I can add a little bit of a crunch dynamic. I can crunch on the sides. This one, as you guys know, is my go-to move for back issues. So if you guys were experiencing any discomfort in your back, either, before today or at some point in your life, this is one of the go-to moves to reset the back. So inhale, exhale, nice and slow. Keep the breathing nice and smooth. Rolling into the ground. Rolling is so healthy for the body. I mean, I could talk all day about how this is good for us. But we're just going to focus on the simple fact we're massaging our bodies by compressing our tissues into the ground. Okay? All right, guys. 3 deep breaths, and we're going to wrap this sucker up. So laying on your back, breathe in, breathe out. Exhale nice and slow. Breathe in, breathe out. Exhale nice and slow. Now, as you're laying there, remember the body has a wisdom all of its own. It knows how to correct itself. So if you feel any imbalance, anything that's maybe not feeling right, I want to encourage you to let go as you're laying on the ground. Laying on your back on the ground is one of the safest positions you can be in. Let's breathe in, breathe out one more time, nice and slow. Exhale, nice and slow, like you're blowing through a straw. Okay, everybody, if you can hang out here for another 5 minutes or so, that would be great. If you got stuff you got to get on, you got to start the rest of your day, feel free to do that too. I hope you guys liked that session today. I thought it was all right, nothing too crazy. Got a little bit of a sweat going. So there we are. So remember, breathe deeply and expansively the whole day today. Oh, good, Janice. Glad you were here today. Make sure that you're smiling a lot throughout the day. Smiling opens up blood flow into our frontal lobe, which releases dopamine or helps to trigger the release of dopamine, helps us to feel good. And then when somebody else sees your smile, they smile, and then it's like this chain reaction. It's beautiful. So hopefully you guys are going to smile a lot today, and you're going to breathe a lot today. Okay, guys, lots of love. See you guys next time.